Hey guys. Okay, so here's the thing. The way Rebecca exposes Lyra's cheating this chapter is the most basic tactic imaginable, but still so brilliantly executed because it's paying off it's playing off a very simple truth about cards and decks of cards, which is that there are only a select few of each number in a deck. So by pulling, so by Prince Rebecca pulling her little bait and switch, she was able to perfectly expose Lyra's cheating. But the thing is, in context of this card battle, I don't think many people are going to appreciate the careful steps Rebecca actually did to make sure this bait and switch worked. Because a plan like the one she executed would have only been possible if she timed it correctly in the way she did. I mean, obviously, Rebecca had pretty much needed the right card in order to fully fully expose Lyra's power, but that in itself required its own steps of Rebecca making sure she didn't make it obvious of what she was doing, or giving Lyra any indication or awareness of the fact of the fact she had the fifth card at all. um and the moment any moment that Prince Lyra would have clued into that would have been an instant game over. But because Rebecca managed to play up play up the drama, and Prince play up her play up her usual desperate attitude in times like this, it provided enough of a distraction where the moment Lyra played her hand was the moment she allowed Rebecca to play her little trump card, the five, in order to show outright to everyone in the audience her cheating. Now, I do admit I am a little iffy on the idea of the resolution to the game being resolved by Rebecca just exposing Lyra's cheating, but on the other hand, it's one of those where you got to ask of what other options are there in the kind of scenario where your opponent can change the card. So in that sense, it was a very good resolution to finish this battle, I'd say. Um, Now, with that said, obviously the other big thing to talk about is that Shiki barges in and escapes with Rebecca before Clean and Jin jump in order to take their place against Callum and Lyra. And I'll be honest, while I am hyped as shit in order to see the Win siblings take those two on, trust me, this setup in itself does is just so hyped in just in the fact of seeing seeing the Win siblings pretty much fight together again. Um, I am also slightly mixed. I'm also slightly mixed on a couple things. One, I really wanted to see how Shiki would handle Calum, because to me the whole idea of Calum fighting Shiki, that was such an interesting battle dynamic, and how it was basically two powers that really weren't compatible, and I wanted to see how Shiki would overcome that shortcoming. But with Jin facing with with pretty much Jin jumping in, and him pretty much set in order to face Callum now, um, the pretty much dynamic is a little bit more predictable now in how it's going to play out. At least in the sense where I'm sure the fight in itself is going to be great, but the dynamics in themselves, but there isn't much of a wow factor from the dynamics now, in the sense where there are only so many ways you can kind of play with a wind versus smoke dynamic, but before you know how it's going to end. Although I will concede as well that the fight between Clean and Lyra has a few interesting possibilities that I'm interested to see as well. So yeah, the whole Jin versus Colin fight, that has become a little bit standard in my book, but the Clean versus Lyra fight still looks interesting. On the other hand, even though I am disappointed, I'm disappointed by even though I am disappointed by this route that Mashima went, I do understand the narrative importance of doing this, as we don't know what the fuck is going on with Witch. And like I said previously, Shiki does need to book it before Shura or just this killer. Although I will say the fact that we haven't gotten any like an update or just kind of like focused on Shura at this point does kind of concern me, because on one hand I don't want to believe Mashima would kill Witch, and that at worst she'll just be badly broken by the time both Shiki and Rebecca get to her. But at the same time, there is this feeling of dread about this scenario that reminds me a little of what happened on Sun Jewel. In fact, just the idea that, in fact, just the French idea that, just the idea that that just the idea that Rebecca has used up the max amount of time she can use the reverse really shows how much I feel everyone's already kind of screwed now. Because even if they succeed in saving Witch without Rebecca's power, there's nothing Rebecca can do now if either Shura or more than likely Ziggy were to gain control of the All-Link. Like if that happens, she can't go back in time now in order to create another scenario where that doesn't happen. And at this point, it's basically all up to Shiki and the others in order to stop that from happening and igniting a full-scale machine war, and prevent the future from Rebecca's dream from coming to pass. Like that's kind of the big thing here. That's the big thing right now. Is that right now Rebecca's dream is, even though certain things have changed in terms of, even though certain small elements have changed, like with Rebecca, for example, she's pretty much prevented her legs from like becoming machine legs now. But as far as the actual like whole thing of a whole machine apocalypse happening, with the idea that she's pretty much used up all her reverses at least up to this point, she's the whole robot apocalypse now is pretty much set to happen now, and is pretty much set on its way to happen now. Like it's pretty much a guarantee. In some ways, it's almost a guarantee now at this point, and it's only a matter of time. But it's only a matter of time before Ziggy shows up, and it's a little frightening to consider that for pretty much everything that Rebecca did in order to prevent her legs from being cut off or chopped off or whatever, she's pretty much still in a position. She's still in a prison where she'll pretty much be unable in order to prevent the dark apocalyptic future from happening. Now, with that said, the other thing I honestly wasn't a huge fan of that kind of ties into Shiki's interruption of Rebecca's fight is that we learned through a bit of quick exposition that the bomb around Rebecca's neck is a dud. And that's, again, something I'm kind of mixed on, because even though the circumstances and what we've seen of Lyra and how much of a showboating personality she has, for like big grand performances, all that does actually check out and it works. But at the same time, I don't know how I feel about it, because it does feel like a little bit of a wasted opportunity for me. I mean, again, I get how it works. I get it does work, but I don't know. It pretty much feels like pretty much could have done something a little more with that concept, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Crunchyroll, and be sure to hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share this video around, guys. Dead and that have been me, signing off. Later, everyone.